What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So Battlefield community is going nuts on a new article on Game Rant, which seems to have triggered a lot of Battlefield content creators, and they're saying things like this has been the worst take on a Battlefield game that they've ever seen. Simply said, not happy with the content of this article. Now this has made me curious about it, and I just went on the internet, found the article, and read through it to see what's going on. And holy Jesus, guys, you have no idea what kind of nonsense that thing is. You have no idea. I'm going to put the link down in the description. You can go ahead and take a look at the article yourself. The full thing is down there, but we are going to take a look at it today together to see what the hell is going on here. And it all starts with a completely ridiculous topic. Look at this. Battlefield 6 should take a less is more approach with guns. So this is the topic of the article. And when you read through it, what this dude means by less is more is starting with only 15 weapons. Guys, 15 weapons. How small of a weapon roster that 15 is, but bear with me for a second, okay? First of all, let's take a look and see who this dude is. So the author of this article is called Matt Anderson. He's from Pennsylvania. He's been gaming ever since he was 4, and his favorite games are like Mario Bros, Doom, Sky Cooper, Kingdom Hearts, and like things like that, okay? So the closest favorite game of his to Battlefield is actually Doom, because there's no FPS there. And this dude has some more articles on so many games. Some of them are actually about Battlefield, and most of them are about Battlefield 2042. And he actually mistypes Battlefield 2042 for Battlefield 2024 in one of them, which you can see the picture for. And you're like, that's just a typo, right? And nothing more. But I seriously doubt that, because his take on Battlefield 6 is now said to be the worst take on Battlefield games in the entire history of this franchise. So there has to be something lacking here, okay? Now let's take a look at this disaster of an article and see why people are so triggered by his words. So here's how he starts. It's unclear what the next game will look like and whether DICE will create a smaller scale Battlefield title or just go for a much bigger approach. Even so, the developer has several areas to consider and improve upon as it builds the next game in its iconic first-person shooter series. So it feels to me like this dude is actually living under a rock, because we already know, officially confirmed, that the next Battlefield game will not go for a large-scale Battlefield like 128 players in a server. That's not going to happen for the next Battlefield game. We know that it's going to be based on 64 players. So we already do know that, okay? Let's say 2042 was some kind of an experiment with 128 players. It didn't work. So they're not actually taking an approach for less is more. They're actually doing what worked before. And 2042 was a failed experiment, okay? Let's just look at it that way. The next Battlefield title could do wonders for itself if it chose to take a less is more approach with guns. In a first-person shooter, it's fair to hope for there to be a massive amount of guns. That way players have a lot of different options to work with. If Battlefield wants to succeed, this is very important, it may be best served to work smarter instead of harder, lightening the amount of guns, putting its focus elsewhere. Now let's see what he means by elsewhere. A base number of about 15 guns could be a great starting point for the next Battlefield game. Oh my god. While it could seem like a shockingly small amount of weapons for players to choose from, this is where DICE could focus on balancing the weapons to the best of its abilities, while also playing on unique attributes to keep guns from feeling like clones of one another. If they do that, players will have fewer qualms about the smaller arsenal, given that each gun will feel great to play with. Now let me give you an insight of this nonsense and let you know what it means to have only 15 weapons to begin with in a shooting game. Okay, right now in Battlefield 2042, we have 7 weapon categories. Okay, you guys know it: secondary weapons, SMGs, assault rifles, DMRs, LMGs, sniper rifles, also backed up with tactical weapons. So we have 7 weapon categories. Imagine having 2 of each and call it a day. Okay, for example, you have 2 assault rifles, 2 SMGs, 2 LMGs, 2 sniper rifles, and that's it. You know, that's gonna make up for like 14 weapons. We're gonna give it one extra assault rifles, and that's it. Just imagine that. Imagine you have 15 weapons right now in 2042, and 2042 is a fresh beginning. Just take a look at it like that, from that perspective. Just imagine yourself playing with only 15 weapons. I don't care how unique they are and how balanced they are, which is not something that DICE needs to put every single part of their focus in my opinion. We do know for a fact, this is a solid rumor because it was from Tom Henderson, we're gonna get 45 weapons in the beginning of Battlefield 6. That is rumored to be true. So if we have 45 weapons, that's like Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 1 level. But if you get like 15, how is that gonna make sense? I mean, every single time that someone comes up with a Battlefield 2042 problems video, one of the main issues with 2042 has to be the weapon variety. Because right now, as of January 2025, we still lack weapons. People are still craving for those remaining vault weapons to be in the all-out warfare. And you also should consider that 2042's weapons are almost balanced right now. Like, there's no weapon that is completely over the top, overpowered, something ridiculously unbalanced that people don't like to play with the other weapons. Almost all the weapons in 2042 right now feel quite unique, and that doesn't satisfy the player base because there is no variety. So this dude clearly has no background in Battlefield, in my opinion. That is completely obvious. His words say it. Not only Battlefield, but no multiplayer shooting game, in my opinion. He plays Doom, that's alright. Doom is a respectable FPS game, but it's completely different with playing a multiplayer FPS game. In a big scale, something like Battlefield. That's completely different. So the problem with this dude is being inexperienced. And when you are that inexperienced, you shouldn't be writing articles like this publicly. At least not about a game like Battlefield, which is in its all-time most critical state. Everyone as a Battlefield player, and especially those who are creating content for this game, know how important it is for the next Battlefield game to be something decent. We all know it. I've said it 100 times and I'll say it again. The next Battlefield game is going to be a last stand for this whole franchise. They just can't mess it up. And people like this dude are just trying to, I don't know what they're trying to do. They're trying to enforce their opinion on something that they don't even have experience with. It's really odd. Let's move on and see what else he has to say. A smaller base roster of guns could also prove fruitful for the game's post-launch life. Naturally, as Battlefield is a franchise known for its online multiplayer gameplay, EA and DICE jump at the opportunity to add more content to their game after launch. While a small base roster of guns will be polarizing to many players, it will allow DICE to make season drops more special with greater amounts of guns per season. So this is another BS from this dude. Now let me tell you why that is. EA has already given one more year of time to DICE and the other studios working on the next Battlefield game because 2024 was the year that a new Battlefield game was supposed to come out. And they delayed it for a straight year to the late 2025. These guys have one extra year to work on a game to make something half decent. And if they actually can't put on like 40, 50 weapons in a game with 1 year of delay, then I do believe they should just kiss this franchise goodbye. They stop making it, guys. And there's one more interesting thing. This dude thinks that there's a limit to weapons. Like, guys, right now in this video, I can name 50 assault rifles for you. 50 assault rifles that each and every one of them are unique looking and are unique weapons that can be all fitted into one game, if the developer actually wants to do that. 40 assault rifles, a ton of SMGs, like 20 sniper rifles at least. I can name them right now. So there's no limit. There's no limit for weapons. We do know that we have tons of weapons as people who are just kind of into guns. We do know that they can actually put a lot of weapons into the game. So it doesn't have to be like 15 weapons for the base game. So later they don't have the limit for adding weapons. So they can like use some special weapons and bring some more weapons later in the game. If they start with 45, which is something that we know right now that's probably going to be the case. If they start with 45 and they add like 50 in 2 years, that's going to be good. That's going to be almost around 100 weapons. Good variety. But if they start with 15, what's it going to be? It's going to be like 60 at best. So that's why this is just nonsense. So let's see what else he has to say. A small gun count in the base game may seem like a downside to some fans, to all fans, my opinion, but the post-launch content could help mitigate that. If DICE can commit to a solid quality of guns, it can ensure this new game's total number of weapons doesn't stretch as high as Battlefield 4's astonishing 107 guns. I mean, what the hell? What the hell is wrong with you, dude? Why should DICE commit to quality weapons to not like stretch the weapon roster to the level of Battlefield 4? Why not? What was the issue with Battlefield 4? That's why I tell you that this dude is inexperienced. And the only issue with this dude is actually writing about something that he has no experience in. One of the most important pros of Battlefield 4 was having lots of weapons. And lots of good balanced weapons, at least in the end of its lifespan, things were fine. So I don't know what's wrong with this dude. And then he continues, finding a nice middle ground between that massive number of guns and comparatively smaller number of guns in a game like 2042 would be a blessing for DICE's next game. And this is how he ends this. A smaller count of weapons may not be the only area where a new Battlefield game would take a less is more approach. Recent reports have indicated that the next Battlefield game will return to the standard 64-player matches as opposed to the 128-player battles in Battlefield 2042. Given the smaller number of players in a given game, it makes sense that DICE would work toward a more concise number of weapons alongside it. So now DICE is returning from an experiment called Battlefield 2042 and 128 players to the previous safe ground of 64-player matches, and now because of that, we don't need a lot of weapons anymore. That's what this guy is saying. Because we're returning to 64 players, we don't need like 45, 50 weapons to start with. 15 is enough. I mean, I have nothing to say. This dude is legit crazy. Seriously, man, I'm out of words. Like, this video is a rant video, okay? But imagine running out of words in a rant video. Dude's out of his mind. I hope those working on this game don't listen to crap like this. I just hope so. The good thing is, rumor says that we're gonna start with 45 weapons, which is good. It's way above good for what we know of the current generation of DICE developers. That's something that 2042 has lacked ever since day one. Weapon diversity. Battlefield is a large-scale multiplayer game. You can't have a large-scale multiplayer game and try to run it on only 15 weapons. That is just crazy. The fact that this dude was confident enough to put this thing out is crazy. I really admire him. I really do. The level of confidence is just crazy on this dude. But you guys go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this. Do you really think focusing on balancing weapons out from the get-go, from day one, is so important that you should completely kiss diversity goodbye and start with like 15 weapons? And if you do that, for example, how many submachine guns do you want to put in that game? How many assault rifles do you want to have? How many secondaries? How many sniper rifles? How many shotguns and tactical weapons do you want to have? LMGs, DMRs. How do you want to work it out? Like 15 weapons, 7 weapon categories. Like you want to have 1 sniper rifle, 1 secondary, and then 3 assault, 3 SMG, 3 LMG, 2 DMRs. How's it gonna be? I don't think there is anyone actually agreeing to this, dude. But if there is, I'll be glad to hear it in the comment section. You know, I really want to know what that perspective is. Maybe I'm missing something because I'm not going to be 100% true. I've never claimed that, and I never will. I just want to know if there is someone agreeing to this dude, what's the perspective? Hope you guys enjoyed the video and hope this video was helpful. Thanks for watching. Thank you for your time. And until next time, guys, stay cool.